who are the real riggers of election in Nigeria? Who are those that actually are responsible for doing the actual rigging? In the 2023 presidential election, we can point our fingers to INEC. We can point our fingers to the INEC chairman, Mahmood Yakubu. We can point our fingers to APC and the APC presidential candidate, Tinubu. We can point our fingers to the security agencies, and then we can point our fingers to the judiciary. Now, this is surface. This is surface. For us to be able to understand the rigging process and to accurately profile solution to the rigging process, we have to totally get to the bottom of how exactly does the rigging take place. When we understand how the rigging takes place, then we'll find out that the solutions to tackle such rigging may not be as hard as we think. Now, why am I looking at this subject? I am tired of hearing people say that Tinubu was not president in 2023, but he was able to rig himself into office. And now that he is president, it is impossible to defeat him. I'm tired of hearing it. Anybody who pushes this position, to me, appears to be someone who does not understand how the rigging is actually done. So let us understand it. Beyond just saying that, oh, it was Mahmood Yakubu, INEC, or it was Tinubu that rigged. How did they do it? In another video, I talked about the 7 strategies that Peter Obi must adopt to overcome or defeat Tinubu in 2027. Understanding the rigging apparatus of Tinubu was one of them. After the election of 2023, and after the case went through the Supreme Court and all that, just last month, Osita Chidoka did a report. And in that report, it was so detailed that I'm surprised that that report did not go viral. And most politicians did not pay attention to that report. That report holds the key to solving election rigging in Nigeria from the perspective of political candidates. Why do I say this? It is easy for us to just generalize and say Mahmood rigged the election. And I don't argue with that. But Mahmood could not have been in all the 176,000 polling units at the same time. He could not have been at all the over 8,100 wards at the same time. He could not have been at all the 36 states at the FCT at the same time. He could not have been. In fact, he could not have even been in Abuja, in all the polling units in Abuja at the same time. So if Mahmood rigged, how did he rig it? The rigging must have started at the polling unit. So how did INEC rig it at the polling unit? Once we identify how they rigged it at the polling unit, is it possible to profile solutions to counter that rigging at the polling unit? Is it possible? I think it is. In fact, I have a solution to that. We'll come back to that later. From the polling unit, it goes up to the registration area, or what we call the ward collation center. From the report that Osita Chidoka actually made, you find out that a lot of the additions and the subtractions and the padding happened at the ward collation center. It happened at the ward collation center. So how did the rigging happen? Beyond the ward collation officer or ward returning officer, padding and returning result. How did the rigging take place at the ward center, ward collation center? We need to know this, because if we don't, we'll just keep shouting, oh, INEC, oh, Mahmoud Yakubu, without actually putting structures in place to check the rigging from taking place again in 2027. I have said it before, I will say it again. If we understand how rigging is done and trace it down to the smallest unit, it won't matter whether Tinubu buys over INEC. In fact, it won't matter whether Tinubu is both the presidential candidate or the INEC chairman together at the same time. It won't matter. The people's will be heard. That is why, for me, at this time, it is critical for us to understand how the elections were rigged. From there, you move up to the local government collation center. From there, you move on to the state collation center. By the time the results get to the national collation center, the rigging has already been completed and concluded. Now, this is crucial. It's critical. By the time results get to the national INEC National Collation Center, that's the presidential election probe. Okay, returning officer. No. By the time it gets to the National Collation Center, the rigging has already been solidified. It has been completed. At that point, if you ask me, there's nothing even the INEC chairman can do. The only thing that can help us at that position is if we, as a political party, to thoroughly understand the rigging process and put our structure in place. And in fact, if INEC is transmitting elections real time, their transmission process and collation process should not be as fast as our own transmission and our own collation system. Immediately the results are counted before they even begin to sign. The polling unit agent has contacted the the party situation room or party collation center with the figures, and the party has tabulated it for that local government. And from the polling unit, we already know what should happen at the ward level. So we transmit that result, our own, we transmit the results to the ward party agent. Yes, our ward party agent will transmit that result to our ward party agent. So by the time the result from EC8A is leaving the polling unit and they are traveling with the returning officer or the election officer to the ward collation center, before they get to the ward collation center, we already have our result. We have collated it for the ward on our own situation room, and we have sent the answers or the collated results to our own party agent at the ward collation center. So at that point, our ward collation agent, party agent, has figures to dispute the INEC ward collation officer. The same thing, once we finish from there, we send the results to the state party agent at the state collation center. Immediately, by the time they are still waiting for even the ward to go to local government, we have sent the results to our own local government collation center party agent. So these are the figures that the party agent will now use to counter whatever results the local government or the ward or the state collation officer for INEC reads out. And when we now eventually get to the National Collation Center, it is our results that we will now present to the INEC chairman in case there are discrepancies. Because if you wait for the national, by the time the result gets to the National Collation Center, the rigging has already been completed. And from what we saw in 2023, it will be difficult and impossible to go. Let me play this. I wonder why I didn't play it. To go back to correct it. Almost impossible. So I want to say, because if you look at what happened at the National Collation Center, particularly when they were collating results from Osun and Kwara and Ekiti, that was when Dino Melaye raised his objections, and then our Labour Party National Collation agent also now supported Dino Melaye. But there was a question that the INEC chairman asked the Labour Party National Collation agent, and he couldn't answer. He asked him, that's Mahmoud now asked our agent, the returning officer or the presidential election, the returning officer has read some results from Kwara State. You, as the Labour Party National Party agent, you are there, you have objections. What is your own figure that you are using to dispute the returning officer's figures? We could not provide it because we didn't have it at that moment. In fact, the Labour Party agent actually said, give us some time, we'll get back to you. He never got back. He never came back to say, oh, Mr. INEC chairman, you read 2 million for APC in Kwara. It's actually supposed to be 1.2 million. You read 500,000 for Peter Obi. It's actually supposed to be 2.5 million. He didn't get back. This is how elections are rigged. If we go back to the report that Osita Chidoka gave, in that report, it was very clear the people who are rigging the elections, they are the electoral officers, the EOs, the returning officers at the polling unit, the collation officers at the ward unit, the collation officers at the local government area level, at the state level. These are the locations where they rig it. In fact, the most critical or crucial of them is at the registration area, which is the ward level. So if we understand this, it means that we have to put structures in place, which will include a highly scientific collation center that is faster than that of INEC. It is easily doable. Just simple Excel sheets will take care of this. If you want to do something more sophisticated, you can write a program. But even with Excel, you can write the program that will deal with this. All you now need is coordination and structure. Every polling unit agent has the contact of the national situation room of our party. And immediately the results have been counted while they are filling in the results into the Form EC8A. Before all the political party agents sign and the security agents sign, the political party has snapped it and sent it and given the figures. And that figure is already with our own party situation room collation center. We have collated because it's automatic. Once you enter in the figure, you don't need to begin to press calculator to add. That's the beauty of technology. Once the polling unit agent calls the collation center just simply needs to ask what polling unit or what polling unit number, and then you enter the figure into the polling unit number. The Excel or the program will do the computation on its own, so that by the time the polling unit agent is going to the ward collation center or the local government collation center or the state collation center or even the national collation center, they are armed with the authentic polling unit result, and that will guide us. And because we know that the polling unit is very critical, we'll now put more effort to see how we can dissuade or reduce or stop polling unit electoral violence. Very, 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 very simple to do. All these threats by people like MC Oluomo, all those things, they can be easily handled with technology. And it's simple, it's not so hard. All we just need to do is understand how the rigging takes place in the first place. So, how do you think the rigging takes place? What do you think we can do? What additions can you make? Let me know your contributions, because we need to arm all Nigerians with this information so they can see that Tinubu is actually very, very beatable. Very, very beatable. Easily beatable. And indeed, in 2027, because we have committed people like you and I, we will make sure that we take back our country and we'll get the people their mandate.